The lead masks case, Brazil's strangest unsolved mystery. Imagine hiking up a hill overlooking a busy Brazilian city. The sun is setting. The air is quiet. Then, hidden among the grass, you discover two bodies lying side by side. Neither man appears injured. There are no signs of violence, no signs of a struggle, no signs of robbery. But there is one detail that immediately catches your attention. Both men are wearing strange homemade masks made from lead. Beside them is a mysterious note. A note containing instructions that nobody has ever fully explained. Who were these men? Why were they wearing lead masks? What were they trying to do? And how did they die? More than 50 years later, the lead masks case remains one of the most bizarre unsolved mysteries in history. This is the story of a mystery that continues to puzzle investigators, scientists, and conspiracy theorists to this day. Chapter 1. The Discovery. The year was 1966. The location was Vintém Hill, near the city of Niterói in Brazil. On August 20th, a local boy was flying a kite when he noticed something unusual on the hillside. Curious, he moved closer. What he found would soon become national news. Two men were lying motionless on the ground. Authorities arrived and identified them as Miguel José Viana and Manel Pereira de Cruz. Both were electronics technicians. Both were respected members of their community. And both appeared to have died under extremely unusual circumstances. The men were dressed in formal clothing. Their suits were clean. Their shoes were polished. There were no signs of a struggle. No evidence of robbery. Their money remained untouched. Nearby investigators discovered a water bottle, package containing wet towels, and most importantly, a handwritten note. The note read, 1630B at the agreed location. 1830 ingest capsules. After the effect, protect metals. Wait for signal. The message raised more questions than answers. What capsules? What signal? And what exactly did protect metals mean? Chapter 2. The lead masks. Perhaps the strangest discovery was found on the faces of the two men. Each man was wearing a homemade mask made from lead. The masks resembled protective eyewear. Yet they contained no lenses, just sheets of lead carefully shaped to cover the eyes. Investigators immediately wondered why. Lead is often used to block radiation. Could the men have been expecting some kind of dangerous energy? Were they participating in a scientific experiment? Or were they involved in something much stranger? The masks appeared to have been handmade. Someone had carefully designed and constructed them. This suggested planning. The men had not arrived at the hill by accident. They had gone there with a purpose. But what that purpose was remains one of the biggest mysteries in the case. As news spread throughout Brazil, theories began to emerge. And some of them were far more unusual than anyone could have imagined. Chapter 3. The men behind the mystery. To understand the case, investigators needed to understand the victims. Miguel and Manel were not criminals. They were electronics technicians. They worked with radios and electrical equipment. Friends described them as intelligent and hardworking. But they also shared another interest. Both men were fascinated by spiritualism and paranormal phenomena. In the 1960s, spiritual movements were extremely popular in parts of Brazil. Some groups believed it was possible to communicate with higher beings. Others claimed contact with extraterrestrials. Witnesses reported that Miguel and Manel often discussed unusual scientific and spiritual ideas. According to some accounts, they experimented with electronic devices that they believed could help them connect with other dimensions or entities. Whether these stories were accurate remains unclear, but they became an important part of the investigation. Because if the men were involved in spiritual experiments, the mysterious note suddenly seemed much more significant. Chapter 4. The Final Journey. Investigators reconstructed the men's final known movements. On the day of their deaths, the two men left their hometown and traveled toward Niterói. Before leaving, they told family members they needed to purchase equipment. Witnesses later confirmed seeing them buy raincoats. Strangely, those raincoats were never found. Another witness remembered selling them a bottle of water. According to reports, one of the men appeared nervous and repeatedly checked his watch. It seemed they were operating according to a strict schedule. The handwritten note supports this idea. Everything appears carefully timed. Arrive at a location. Take capsules. Wait for a signal. Something important was expected to happen that evening. But whatever happened on that hill ended with both men dead. And nobody knows why. Chapter 5. The UFO Theory. One of the most famous theories involves unidentified flying objects. Several witnesses claimed they saw unusual lights in the sky near Vintém Hill around the time of the incident. One witness reported observing a glowing object moving erratically above the area. Others described bright flashes of light. Supporters of the UFO theory believe Miguel and Manel expected contact with extraterrestrials. According to this theory, the lead masks were intended to protect their eyes from an intense light source. The mysterious note could have been instructions for a planned encounter. The capsules may have been intended to alter consciousness, and the signal may have referred to a communication from above. There is no evidence proving this theory, yet it remains one of the most widely discussed explanations, partly because the case itself is so unusual, and partly because nobody has ever found a better answer. Chapter 6. The Scientific Theory. Other investigators prefer a more grounded explanation. They believe the men may have been conducting an experiment. Perhaps they intended to test a device. Perhaps they believed they could contact spirits using electronics. Or perhaps they accidentally poisoned themselves. The note specifically mentions capsules. Unfortunately, investigators were never able to determine exactly what those capsules contained. Because of delays in discovering the bodies, decomposition made toxicology testing difficult. This was one of the most frustrating setbacks in the entire investigation. The answer may have been inside those capsules, but if it was, it may have been lost forever. Chapter 7. The Questions That Remain. More than half a century later, investigators still face the same unanswered questions. Why did the men travel to the hill? What was the purpose of the lead masks? What was inside the capsules? What signal were they waiting for? And how did both men die at the exact same location without any obvious signs of violence? Every theory explains part of the puzzle, yet none explain everything. The mystery continues because every answer creates new questions, and every clue seems to point in a different direction. Conclusion. The lead masks case remains one of the strangest unsolved mysteries ever recorded. Two men, a lonely hill, cryptic note, homemade lead masks, and a purpose that died with them. Perhaps the truth was a failed experiment. Perhaps it involved beliefs that only the two men understood. Or perhaps the real explanation has never been discovered. Whatever happened on that hill in 1966, it left behind a mystery that has survived for generations. And until someone uncovers the missing piece of the puzzle, the lead masks case will remain exactly what it has always been, a mystery that refuses to be solved. What do you think happened on Vintém Hill that day? Let me know your theory in the comments. You want in this field and press play to hear me.